Hello and welcome back to the final bonus episode for Season 3 of the Littlest PetCast, and of course, it would not be Season 3 without one last major delay. I was just really busy and did not have the time until now. And I've been stressing, and there's like a lot of events that happened, and, stuff. So, as usual, this is our retrospective. Our chance to look back at everything. And, they say hindsight is 20/20, but, I don't think that's always the case, because sometimes you remember things incorrectly, or, I get why they say it, because, you have more information now than you did then, but, at the same time, the further back it goes, the fuzzier some details get, which, since, because of the numerous breaks, that might be a bit prone to happen. But I do have my handy notes, if they would load. Oh dear. I think... nope, nothing is... Oh, okay. Nope, the notes aren't... Oh, that note, okay. So I actually this season... I guess we'll start with that. I guess this season I had to start a new page of notes because, I have a lot of notes. On the current one, the original one goes up to, 314, and that seems... Oh, 300... It's still adding pages. Oh, dear. There are a lot. Over 300. And because of that, I experienced, a few troubles when taking notes. So, after Sue Syndrome, which I know is the third to last episode of the season, I switched to a different Google Doc to essentially finish off the series. I thought I could do it, but it just got to be too much. Alright, it doesn't seem to be moving anymore, so the total I have here is 346. Okay, so let's talk about the other thing, the big thing, the elephant in the room. Why were there so many breaks? Well, truth be told, there's not one actual reason for it. It's just my life has gotten a lot busier. I mean, I graduated, I moved again, I'm working now, I'm trying to find work in my field. Some of the breaks were purely for me. I did take a break when Crash Team Racing Nitro Field came out because I was excited for the game. But that was just 1 week, and then the beginning of January was shot because I had a road trip planned with my friends to see another friend. So there were multiple reasons why some episodes some months only had 2 or 3 episodes instead of the usual 4 or 5. And one of those reasons is that I do get stressed sometimes and I just need a break, and usually this is what the off season is for. But I mean, this isn't always the thing that stresses me out. It sometimes can. In this case it can, because I have I have over 100 notes to deal 100 pages of notes to deal with. Cuz I don't know. It's weird. I'll just go through it. No big deal. I'm doing it now cuz it's a thing. I like doing these recaps. I like taking these looks back and seeing how I have changed as the season progressed. But, like, I was also saying that, like, real life, it gets me stressed out sometimes. And, I don't know, sometimes I don't have the energy or feel the need to record this, and I need time for myself. And I think we can all agree that that is a necessary component of life. So, thoughts on Season 3 in general before we get into the specific breakdowns? I think Season 3 is... it's hard to say. Like, I think it might be, like, one of my favorite seasons of the show, if not my favorite. Like, I might have something to say when Season 4 comes around. Because, like, Season 4 has some, like, really good episodes. But I haven't seen them as often. But, like, Season 3 also has some, like, really good, really strong episodes. Even in, like, some cases where, like, I wrote it off initially or something. Like it had episodes of, like, good quality that surprised me. And it really, like, shows, like, the most potential for the show, which it doesn't get to as I went through Season 3 and I decided, hey, we're close enough to the end anyway. I might as well just, like, say these things I'm feeling about that. And we will get to that when we get to that. But, like, in general, I think Season 3 is good. It's a good season. It's, it's weird in some places, but overall, I'd say good. Now, let's keep it going by delving into... Well, I guess I should say, like, if my opinion of the show has changed between seasons. I don't think it really has. I guess the biggest thing is, like, the, like, potential coming forward and then being squashed down. It's just, I'd still find the show good and weird and fun. It's just, I don't know, it's still mishmashy. It's a little less mishmashy now, or rather, it knows how to walk in those mishmashed shoes at this point in Season 3. It's still odd. It's still an odd show to deal with. So, let's get right into... I have false started once again, because since we're going back to the beginning, yeah, so the other thing about this season is that Netflix has a different order than air date order, and I decided to go with Netflix order because that is the order I'm more familiar with. And for most of Season 3, I've been posting episodes that, like, some people would consider out of order. But, to me, they are in order. They're just in, like, the order I know, the order I'm familiar with. And because it's the one I know and I'm familiar with, I agree that it is the correct order. And I have, like, a few bits of evidence to back this up, but I mean, the whole production on Littlest Pet Shop was odd to begin with, because okay, I get it. Like, the 2 wintry episodes, they were moved to be closer to, like, Christmas and, like, you know, all those winter holidays. But that does not explain why everything else was moved around. Like, is it, like, production order? Did they just do production order? Maybe. It's odd. I guess it's just one of these shows' oddities. I did not say that sentence right. So, one last check. See if everything is good to go. I guess it is. So, for real this time, without further ado, let's get into the episodes specifically. Starting with War of the Weirds. So, I actually kind of like this episode. I'm just putting that out front. I mean, it's more goofy than anything, but it's nice. It's interesting. I wouldn't say it's bad. Oh, I'm looking through my notes, actually. And there are some things I forgot, like Penny saying that she liked the vet because they gave her 7 cookies that she's eating right now. And then Pepper's like, maybe you should have shared those cookies because there are 7 of us. Man. There's like so many little things. There's also like a lot of little jokes about aliens and how they relate back to the pets. It's an interesting episode. It also like gave me the evidence that like maybe New York split up into 4 cities because they list like Uptown and Midtown City. So like the 2 biggest things are like the whole alien thing and the biscuits maybe illegally advertising, which I like to think they are, because that just makes them worse people. And like I like the image of like the biscuits as terrible. It's really truly terrible. And Mrs. Trombley freaking out over it is interesting. But like the crux of the episode is the aliens and how like Blythe doesn't believe in aliens, but the pets do. And I mean, this might have been pointed out in the episode, but like Blythe, you can talk to animals. An alien should not be that weird. And it's even worse because aliens actually exist in this, as proven at the end of the episode. Where, like, the aliens were planning on invading, but Mrs. Trombley yelled so loud that they thought it was a sonic weapon that was too powerful for them to handle. But, like, honestly, my favorite scene, one of my favorite scenes in this episode, if not my favorite, is when Blythe is on the phone with Roger, and Roger's like, well, we can't be sure if aliens exist. I mean, there's no proof of it, but, you know, the possibility is out there. Like, the absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. That is my roommate's high school graduation quote. Oh boy. So, I like that scene because, like, A, it's a Roger scene, and B, it's a perfectly Roger thing to do. Be kind and courteous while also being slightly irrational. And it's not even that irrational. Like, the possibility that, like, there is life elsewhere. Like, that it just seems astronomically impossible that we're the only things that have life in the entirety of the universe. The universe is big, man. But like it's peak Roger. It's great. I love it. I love the pets freaking out over the aliens. I love Mrs. Tombley freaking out over Fisher Biscuit and his illegal advertising practices. And it's just a fun episode. I don't know what else I can say. Let's see if I did a thing at the... Ooh, boy, there's a lot of notes. Yeah, okay. No, it's just a fine episode. That's all I have to say. So next, sorry about the mouse rolling. There's gonna be... Oh dear. Yep, the next episode is Secret Cupid. Oh boy. Oh, this is one of my favorite episodes because of how extremely dumb this episode is. It is. I am putty in its hands because I melt whenever I watch this episode. Because it is so ridiculous. It is so ridiculous that I love it. Okay, so I guess getting into it, like the whole thing with the Secret Cupid is just plain nonsense. It is amazing. I love it. I don't know how much more I can say about it without just like going over everything again, but I guess that's what we're here to do. So like just the fact that like there's this pet Cupid that like makes people fall in love, and Russell's like, so love is gross, and then gets under her spell because it's sugar sprinkles, and all she needs is music. And like you have to hear it's oh boy. Oh. And then like the way Russell acts, and then eventually Vinny and Sunil, there is like a lot to process with that. And I did. Like the weird powers that it has. Like it's just weird. Oh, I love it. I can't hate it. It's I'm sorry, I'm just reading through my notes, and it's like one of my favorite quotes ever is like, señorita, they say Spanish is the language of love. Hola, tortilla, feliz Navidad, burritos. That just kills me every time. He's just saying random Spanish in an attempt to woo Penny Ling. Oh, I can't deal. That is just, oh goodness gracious. There is just so much about this episode. And then like the B plot with Blythe and her feelings regarding Josh Sharp. And like how like Youngmi is like, yo, write down your messiest, most embarrassing feeling. Nothing can go wrong. But enter Roger, who mails the letter anyway. Oh goodness. But they are saved by like Russell and the group running into the mailman. There's just so much to this episode. I love it. And they hide in bushes so many times in this episode. It's insane. Oh, I cannot get enough of this episode. It's so it makes me smile ear to ear. It's just like, oh, I love it. I love it to pieces, even though it is ridiculous. I love it because it's ridiculous. Okay. Okay, so next episode. I'm going over to next episode because any more time is just going to be spent, I'm going to hurt my mouth if I keep smiling like this. So, the next episode we have is Some Assistance Required. I'd say this is an alright episode. It's fine. It's some, I don't know. I'm less enthusiastic about this episode than last episode. But it's not terrible. It's fine. It's just I don't know. There's just, oh wow, I'm really coming down off that high. Oh boy. Like it's not bad. It's like Blythe gets into like office mischief and hijinks. And then, there's like the whole modeling thing with like Tangier, the aggressive model, and how Tangier doesn't want the spotlight going to anyone but him. And, like how Zoe like knows the type and is set out against it. But like Russell is weirdly trusting in this episode, but that's because he doesn't know the world of modeling. Yeah, but he likes it. He likes the little bit from what he did in the Expo Factor. It's like Blythe dealing with Mona and all of the office stuff is interesting. It's fun. I mean, it shows like the stress, like it takes the stress up to 11. I think maybe people are that like worked to the bone. And maybe it's not as much of an exaggeration as I would want it to be. But, man. I mean, I guess that's why I called the episode Trabla's Amazon. But, there's just... It's a fine episode. I don't think like there's too much to it. It's fine. It's not bad. It's funny. Like there's like in Cloverfields, she like brings it all together. It's there's I don't know what else to say. I mean, I guess this is also like the episode dedicated to the memory of the super best friends, because they had like broken up like a few days before. It's I don't know what else to say. So I guess we're moving on to the next episode, which is Winter Wonder Wah. So again, this is like one of the like winter episodes that they moved to be more in line with winter. But it's fine. Oh, I'm looking through my notes. And when Blythe asks to use a landmine, the twins laugh and say, how 2005, because that's their frame of reference for that. Oh boy. All right, I'm getting up. I actually really like this episode, even though I thought I didn't. There's a lot to like in this episode. Just like the absurdity of how rich the biscuits are, and I just think this is a fake mountain. Okay, I think they just like built this mountain near the city so that they could enjoy a mountain like whenever they wanted to without having to go too far or to a real mountain. And it's just like they're so extra with it. They're like, yeah, we have these awesome beds, this awesome robot, this like Olympic sized jacuzzi, and it's like they only want like Blythe because they think they're being nice so they can get presents. And then like and then the whole thing with Francois too. Like, I love the fact that no one questions Francois 2's nature, but I mean they should have, because in the end he was actually Fisher Biscuit, and it's like that's one of the best reveals ever in this show, at least. And then Blythe saving the biscuits when they fall down the mountain, even after like she finds out that the biscuits are just using her to get in good with their dad. And then their dad is like, yo, I'm rehiring Francois, doubling his pay rate, and if you're nice to him, you might get a present. That's great. And like, I don't know, the Parker B plot is also really interesting and fun, but like the A plot is where it's at. Like, the B plot is still good, don't get me wrong. Like, the B plot gave us a good everyone in suits moment, and I love everyone in suits. But like the A plot is just so interesting. Like, it's a glimpse into the mind of like two people who are so grossly rich that like what seems normal to them is just like another world almost. And it's fun to like get a glimpse inside that, to see why no one should be that grossly rich. So I guess that's it. So the next episode is Sleeper. So this is another episode where the B plot is solid, but the A plot is just like so much better. Like, the B plot with like Fisher and the twins trying to figure out why they don't have as many customers as Littlest Pet Shop does right now is full of like interesting hijinks and comedic misunderstandings, and how like water is the source of money. Somehow it's fantastic. But like the A plot that's just like a parody of Weekend at Bernie's is just the funnest thing, because like it's a parody of Weekend at Bernie's. Like, I don't like, who thought that was an idea that could work? I mean, it works. It's a good episode. It's fun. I love the little song they have, even though it doesn't, parody like the actual song that Weekend at Bernie's has. But like, this is overall a very fun episode, and like Vinny and Sunil trying to like keep everything like afloat, even though like Von Vesselbutt is obviously asleep. They just paint eyes on him. They just carry him around, answer for him. It like no one seems to catch on. That's the funny part. It's just oh boy. And like Penny falling for Mr. Von Puzzlebutt. And, and like there's just like there's not really much to say. It's an amusing parody of a like weird movie to choose, but they somehow land it. They somehow get the idea through. Well, for one, because Mr. Von Fuzzlebutt doesn't die. He's just asleep. Okay. Nope. I just, thought of that one line from Famous Last Words. But, back on track. I don't know. It's just a fun episode. I don't really think there's, much more I can say on that. It just is. It's not like Secret Cupid where it's very ridiculous and I can go on and on. It's just here's a parody of a movie and it works. The hijinks ensue. Man, I am saying hijinks a lot today. So I guess we are going to go into hamster hoods right now. So this episode is peculiar. So I don't even know where to begin exactly. There's just someone steals from the largest ever pet shop, and then it somehow ends up in the littlest pet shop. So Blythe returns it, but the biscuits are, "You stole it!" And Blythe's like, "I didn't steal it." But in the biscuits' defense, Blythe and the biscuits aren't, exactly, they don't see eye to eye. It makes sense for the biscuits to be suspicious of Blythe because, again, they don't see eye to eye. But then it turns out that the thieves are actually these two hamsters named Dodger and Twist. Named after the characters from Oliver Twist. I said it right this time. Anyway. And they're doing it to redistribute wealth. And this episode just comes off across as man, wealthy people just kind of suck. Cause the local news anchor rolls her eyes when the rich person just wants to enrich himself further. And then the two hamsters want to give the things to those who need it, which is very moral, but Pepper is well, yeah, but stealing is wrong though. And I she agrees that the redistribution of wealth is something that needs to be done, but she doesn't agree with the methods. And then when Pepper and Vinny get caught and Blythe has to and then in the end it turns out that all of the stuff that was stolen was actually just thrown out because again the biscuits are terrible rich people. They just throw out stuff because it's not in style. Not because it's like not a necessity or it's broken or something like that. Because like, oh God, I'm so done with rich people. Like, they are like just awful. And then like, I mean, it's weird because like in the end, Dodger and Twist like agree not to steal anymore and just go dumpster diving because people just throw out perfectly good stuff. And I guess that's a solution, but it's not the best solution. So here's a story. When I was a child, I did not understand why there's a minimum wage because I didn't know how the world worked. And I proposed that there should be a maximum wage, that you cannot earn more than this much money in a year. That was my idea. And I've been thinking about that. That's not a bad idea. Like everything else goes into like different programs that like, help people who can't even make minimum wage, Like get everyone up on their own 2 feet so they don't have to starve or live without a home or try to find balance in a world that is imbalanced. And this episode just like really illustrates that point. Like all of the people or pets rather that like Dodger and Twist give the stuff to like need that stuff. Like I guess like the show can't get too political, but I get political with it because of the whole wealth redistribution. And like, I mean, they bring up Robin Hood in this episode. Like, how is that even like a story that persists? Because like, if like the whole thing is about the redistribution of wealth. It's not about like stealing it and keeping it for yourself. It's about stealing it and giving it to the poor. It's basically like I mean, if Robin Hood was like a story of like, like if it was written by the right, they would say, oh, Robin Hood's the villain in all of this. But like, Robin Hood like comes out the hero in like every iteration of the story that I understand. Like, yeah, of course it's good to give money to the poor. Like, do that. Don't be a greedy poop face. I was really trying not to swear there. It's just, man, like, I'm gonna stop before this just turns into just politics after a certain point. So we're going on to the episode Snowstormin'. There we go. Alright, this episode isn't bad either. I might not have a lot to say about this. I mean, it could be better, but it could be worse. I don't know. It's just like Wow. This is my second come down after getting enthusiastic about a topic. So, like, the idea of the episode is that they're snowed in, and the pets already just dislike each other because of like all the little like niggling, doubts just of, get to them after a while. It's man, where did my energy go? Like the sudden and severity of the snowfall is a fun little bit. Oh, wait, I'm back to politics because I'm going to talk about global warming now. We should probably prevent that. Or, work to make sure it's not worse than it is currently. Oh boy. Politics really finds a way to get into this. So, I don't know, like the whole like Roger side story is like this really funny, goofy cartoon where he ends up anywhere but where he wants to. But then, like at the end, Roger like is about to die, and the pets have to come together to save his life, much like how we all have to come together and save our lives from global warming. But like, it's just, I mean, the episode's fine. It's just, I don't know. Like the thing is, like I did mention this, and I guess this is also a good time to mention the other thing, is that it's like a weaker version of like My Overkill from Scrubs. 'Cause like in My Overkill, like they get over it by just spending time away from each other. But in this, they get over it because they have to. Which, I mean, both are fine, but I think Scrubs like comes off stronger because it just says like, hey, sometimes we need a break from the people that we are closest to. And like this is like, no, we can just work things out. Everything is fine. But everything's not always fine. It's just weird. And the reason I also bring up like the overkill thing is this is also the last episode so far that I've done like a song parody thing in the beginning. And I don't know, I just figured that like I was trying for those sometimes, and I don't know, I resolved to do them only when necessary, but like I guess after this it just didn't become necessary, and it's just like an extra thing that like I didn't want to do anymore. Or I might do it if like it lines up correctly. Like the only reason I did that stuff in the first place is just because I wanted to get that like Thin Lizzy jailbreak thing in Galebreak, but I couldn't find a good place to do it in the episode. So that's Snowstormin'. So next is Tongue-Tied. So, like, this episode's interesting. As we've been over recently, it begins with, like, a Disney princess song parody. And it only gets weirder from there. Or, like, all of the animals suddenly know Blythe can talk to them, so they want to talk about their problems. But then Blythe finds an animal that she can't speak to because she's speaking another language. And like that I find interesting. That is a cool, hard limit to have. That is interesting and fun. And then like, I don't know, their attempts to figure it out and like how Blythe kind of works it out eventually. That's actually a really fun thing. Slightly brought down by Minka and her attitude towards language sometimes. It's it's not fun, but like everything else about the A story I find to be fun, cuz like I really like language and its development, and it's like fun to me. And then like the whole thing where Zoe and Russell take over giving pet advice, and then it just like blows up in their face after a while. That's fun and interesting at times, and it certainly has its moments, but like I don't know, I like the whole language thing and the hard limit to Blythe's powers, and it's just really fun. Like that part is fun. Like I mean, the Zoe Russell bit is also fun, but it's not as fun. I think that's kind of like a thing this show has, is that like a lot of the time, like one story is a lot better than the other story. That's just like a thing, and it's not even always like the A story outshining the B story. Sometimes the B story outshines the A story in that respect. But in this case, and in pretty much every case I've said in this episode, it's like the A story that like takes it for me. And like Jebi is very cute. I still have not learned Korean to know what she is saying. But like she's cute. Her dilemma is fun. Well, not fun, but it like the way it works out and the way everything just comes together in the end is fun. And how like Blythe gets a lot of lucky breaks because she literally is just a Disney princess. And because I was playing like so much Kingdom Hearts 3 at that time, I just like, you know, kind of infused it, because like that's fun to me, and I love Kingdom Hearts. And I already mentioned that like maybe Kingdom Hearts exists in this world, so why not? It's just it's very fun. And I mean, I guess like the other thing I want to bring up quick is the whole idea of like getting crap past the radar. And I don't know, it just feels like a bit unnecessary at times, or like it feels more like the radar doesn't care. That's the thing. So I guess that's all I have for that episode. So now we're moving on to what's so scary about the jungle? Everything. You know, this is a pretty good episode. I think something that helps it is that there's no B story. It's just one story about like one thing, and it just has a lot of players. Cause you know, like it's about the zoologist, a friend of Mrs. Twombly's, who also hosts a PBS Kids zoological show, and how much like Penny loves the show, but like, you know, the zoologist is afraid of Penny for some reason. It's just a really solid episode all around. Like there's nothing in it that like I would say is bad or upsetting or, you know, like too much. It's all just the right amount. Like everything has to do with the one thing, and like it keeps it on track. And I really love that about this episode. And I just like the setup in general, because like it's a very interesting setup. I like how like the conflict resolves itself and how like Blythe just like dodges like the question of how she could know this, like it's nobody's business. And it's just really interesting to see like a good focused episode, like one with a true focus. Yeah, I like the episode. I don't really know how much more I have to say about this episode. It's just fun. Like Tess McSavage is a fun character. Like the struggle she goes through, and the struggle Penny goes through, and then hold on, what was the name of the gorilla? Gorilla's name was bop 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 bop. Sunshine Sweetness. I knew it was Sunshine something or Sunny something. I think it was Sunshine. And Wiggles McSunlask. That's what I was confusing it with. This is gonna take a while. I love all like the moving parts it takes. This is just a good episode. There's not really that much to say. So I guess now we are moving on to Two Pets for Two Pests, which is an episode that should have only had one plot. But it doesn't. And I hate the B plot in this. Because it's stupid. And I hate it. And I forget that exists. It's just... The best thing to come out of the B plot is like the continuity of Sunil just sucking at painting at the like end of the season. Like, that's the best thing about it. Because otherwise it's just like tedious and pointless to watch. Like the A plot with like the chinchillas and them being at school and being owned by the biscuits and trying to get them to do that permanently is fun. It's cool. It's neat. I love seeing that. I love seeing evil characters being put in situations that make them not so evil in the end. Like, I love seeing that because, like, I'm one of those stupid people who has optimism, I guess. I love seeing that because I just do. It's just part of who I am. I love seeing people being brought around, even if it's only like a little bit. And, like, it's even not that brought around, because, like, Cashmere and Velvet are also not great. But that's what makes them, like, good to be with the biscuits. And Blythe knows this. And she uses her Phantom Santa abilities. I am sticking with that. Because it's a lot more fun to imagine than Inception. But they have to be asleep in Inception, and it's in their mind, not their heart. Like, it's like, no, I love the Phantom Santa thing more. Okay? That's why I'm sticking with it. Okay. But I just love the, like, dynamic that, like, this episode has between, like, Penny, Vinny, Blythe, Cashmere, and Velvet. And I also learned that there are two ways to spell Cashmere, depending on what you're referring to. I have since learned that. I did not learn that in this episode at all. Because I really thought there was only one way to spell Cashmere. It's a confusing thing. Okay. But, like, seriously, like, this might be the beginning of the Biscuit redemption arc. Maybe not. It's complicated, but people are complicated. And it's nice to see them, like, do something not particularly evil for once. Just, like, come around at the end. And even though it's not, like, you know, them being saints at the end of this, they're still doing a nice thing for, like, people who deserve them. Or pets who deserve them, rather. And I love the bit at the end where Francois is like, I've actually been raising chinchillas all my life before I became a butler. So I will, pick up the slack. And there's going to be a lot of slack. Because they're the Biscuits. And they're kind of lazy. But they do some stuff. Especially if they enjoy it. And, like, I like the, follow-up that they did in So Like Bored, that short. I don't know, well, okay, I know I didn't really watch the shorts, because, I don't know I didn't watch the shorts, but I also do, because it was out of the way, I guess. It's a thing. There's just, I don't know, it's just, the A plot is good. The B plot can die in a fire. But that will be it for that. And so we are now moving on to possibly my favorite episode of the entire series. Definitely my favorite in the entire third season. And that is The Secret Recipe. And again, it's focused. It only has one, story going throughout the whole thing. There's no B plot about Russell dinking about. I don't know. It's just, it's a very heartwarming, delightful episode that, talks about friendship and, what it means and, when to be honest with your friends, even if it's something that they don't want to hear or you don't want to be judged for. There is a lot to this episode. I love this episode back and forth. At the beginning, where young me is doing the presentation for the class, Blythe is helping along. They show the dynamic of their friendship right away. That they're willing to help each other, and young me is a lot more open and energetic, but Blythe is still creative and easy to work with people and willing to support young me, and young me is willing to support Blythe, and then the problem comes in when young me's treats aren't tasty to them, to Buttercream and the rest of the pets eventually, and then that presents a problem where Blythe lies to make young me feel better. Because that gives young me the confidence to go to the bear cave. And then, Blythe knows that if she goes to the bear cave with Buttercream, who doesn't like the treats, she'll be ruined and this will be terrible. And she doesn't know what to do. And it just comes to a crossroads where, Blythe tries to work up the courage to tell young me that she can speak to animals, and she just can't do it. She does all of this other stuff, and it looks like her friendship with young me is gonna fail in the end. But both Blythe and Young Me come through in the end. Because, like, Blythe shows up at the bear cave despite Young Me yelling at her about getting in her way by baking those treats. And then, like, when Young Me realizes that, like, Blythe was right because Buttercream likes Blythe's treats and not necessarily Young Me's, like, she accepts it, and they have a heart-to-heart, and, like, Blythe tells Young Me her secret. It's just so delightful. So sweet, delightful, if you will. It's a beautiful episode. It's very beautiful. It has jokes. It's funny. It has a good story, a good structure. It really outlines, like, the two characters at the center of it. It's just, I love this episode. It's so good. So good. It's so good. I asked the question, can my heart take this episode? And apparently not. Apparently not. So let's just move on. What is the next episode? The next episode is... Feud for Thought. Okay, so a more funny episode, I guess. Not as, like, sweet and endearing. So, I don't think this is a bad episode. I think this is a good episode. It has some good moments. But I do think the you know what? I'm not even sure what the A plot and B plot is, cuz, like, they both revolve around the title. That's how I usually make the A plot B plot distinction. I prefer the human plot a little more than the animal plot, because the animal plot is just, like, a silly reinterpretation of the Hatfields and McCoys. And as, like, delightful as that is at times, and as, like, you know, weird as it is, like, the human aspect feels a lot more human. Like, I mean, they don't have trouble writing pets in, like, more human contexts, but sometimes they just don't do it to reiterate that the pets aren't human. And, like, the reason the koalas fight, it just boils down to that's just what they do. And then they get everyone else involved because that's just what they do. It's a thing. I don't hate it. I like it. It's funny. It's goofy. It has, like, stuff going for it. But the human aspect where, like, the biscuits want to stop hanging out because Brittany got a higher grade on her test than Whitney, and she wants to hang out with the smart kids, which is Blythe and her friends, and, like, they just make Blythe and her friends' life miserable. It's just, and then, like, when like, Blythe and her friends bring the twins back together, that's a good moment. That's a good human moment. It's, I don't know, like, there's a lot to this. I mean, I did also go off on the, like, chronology of this at the beginning. That's what the title is. But I really more want to talk about the episode a little more, because, like, Like, I mean, I just thought of this, like, right now, but, like, what if this is, like, a more subtle, like, door jammed situation? Like, both are solved by purified biscuit, essentially. Or both are helped by it, at least. Because, like, the whole thing at the end where, like, Blythe's whole stunt to get them back together works out probably better than it should have. But it's also, like, you know, Brittany, like, doesn't want to hang out with just any smart kids or any smarter kids. She wants to hang out with Blythe and her friends. And maybe that's a hint that, like, you know, both that the other biscuit twin also kind of wants to hang out with Blythe for real, that they just can't bring themselves to say it. And I mean, I think I also kind of talked about this in the episode where, like, I don't know, Brittany's guard was more up. I don't know, there's a lot to think about. They put a lot of thought into that, but not into the timeline. Or maybe they did and I just don't know what it is. Like, seriously, oh yeah, also I tried to do a little bit of, like, you know, adding stuff during editing. And I've kind of stopped doing that a little bit. I wanted to do more, but, like, at the same time, I was, like, caught up in a lot of things. I just, like I had a lot going on. I might try to do some more later, but so I guess that's that for this episode. So the next episode would be, oh, Fish Out of Water. Okay, this is another interesting episode. I'd say it's better than the last episode, but yeah, it's still a good episode. Like the pets, the story that focuses on the pets isn't, you know, entirely just stupid and pointless. There's, like, a real element in there, a real something that, like, gets you a little more invested than just, like, hijinks. And I'm not saying that, like, just hijinks isn't a good way to make an episode, but it's, like, just hijinks opposed to not just hijinks is where we get a little bit of a problem. But this is, like, not just hijinks, like, pitted against not just hijinks, where, like, there's a real sense of, like, danger, and, like, like, the pets are just trying to help a fish achieve his dream of, you know, being a thrill seeker. And, you know, like, Blythe also wants to check in on her crush because he's apparently working at the largest ever pet shop. I seriously want to know these kids' age. Like, okay, Wikipedia says that they're in high school, but I just can't believe that. They look younger than that. They look like they're, like, 12. I say 13 because that's a compromise. But that still just puts them in middle school. And, like, Blythe's job is more quid pro quo than anything. Blythe's job is just come and hang out with the animals, help around the thing whenever, and also you can sell your own stuff. Like, just whenever? I don't know. And, like, yeah, it's lucky that Blythe wants to do it a lot of the time. But this, like, I don't know how much it makes sense, but, like, I guess the Fishers aren't, like, concerned too much with labor laws. I don't know, it's weird. But, like, Blythe checking in on Josh Sharp as he begins his first day in the largest ever pet shop is really endearing. And it's, like, this really good dynamic that they have going where Blythe, like, really, really just wants to make sure Josh Sharp is okay. And, like, yeah, okay, I guess, I would have preferred it at this point that, like, Blythe and Josh had started dating, but this episode works either way on that front, whether or not Blythe is actually dating Josh or not, and it kind of works a little better that they're not, because, like, the whole thing with, like, the chinchillas and Blythe walking Josh to the Littlest Pet Shop to help the chinchillas, and they talk, and it's sweet, and I love it. It's so good. And then the whole thing with the pets helping, like, Goldie out, I think Goldie out, and, like, how, like, he falls into the sewer, so they have to, like, go through the sewers. And I also make a big deal about how there's a sewer and the storm drain, and that they're two different things. And I don't know. And, like, eventually throughout all of that led me to believe that this is the universe where Al Gore was president. And, you know, like, the whole environment of the sewer is actually really interesting. I like the weird French raccoons that just live there, and the rest of the French animals. And then there's just, like, a Canadian alligator who just, like, lives down there, compacts trash, and sends it to, like, the trash compactors. And just because he's nice. I actually don't know which story I prefer. I think this is a solid all-around episode. Like, both episodes have their, like, moments of, like, endearing, serious, dangerous, funny. It has it all. This is a solid episode, beginning to end. And, like, one I would recommend. Okay, so the next episode would be If the Shoe Fits, which I am not 100% sure why it's called that. Like, I know it's because the pets are in a human suit, and they have shoes, and they lose a shoe, and Fisher, like, finds a shoe, like it's Cinderella, but that's not even, like, the main focus of the episode. Like, I would argue that is a B-plot, just because it feels less important. Like, it just is. Like, this defies, like, the whole, if it's in the title, it's the A-plot. Because that is very not important for a lot of the episode. Like, I don't know. There's just, I don't know. But, like, the whole episode is fairly weird. I like it, but it's weird. It's like, I don't know how else to describe it. I am at a loss of words. This is just like I called it the weird episode for a reason, cuz like it's just weird, man. Like, we're introduced to the Soul Patches because they're headlining the Biscuits' birthday party. And, like Blythe and her friends are invited and they just want to go because of the Soul Patches. And, there's just so much. There's, like, all these little bits of dialogue that are weird. Oh, one thing I do remember calling out is that, like, hold on, let me see if I can find it in my notes. Just let me, okay, while I'm looking, let me, I do like the bit where, like, Francois is walking up and, like, the twins are like, Francois, and then he just turns around. Okay, yeah, here it is. Okay. So, like, Youngmi says, like, one of the lyrics to a Soul Patches song is, I wear black because I'm sad. And I kind of called that out for being a little too direct. But recently I've been getting into, like, Fall Out Boy's Mania album, which I kind of wrote off for a little while. Mainly because of Young and Menace. I do not like Young and Menace. But I like a lot of the other songs on it. And one of them is Wilson, parentheses, Expensive Mistakes, that has the lyric, I'll stop wearing black when they make a darker color. Which is also a little direct, but I'd say I wear black because I'm sad is a little more direct. I still like Wilson, parentheses, Expensive Mistakes. But, like, I don't know, like, the inherent idea behind the episode isn't bad. It's just everything that goes in it is weird. And I guess that's all I have to say about that. So, okay, we're finally at the last episode that, like, Netflix threw me off on, and oh dear, I just remembered what it was. It's the Very Littlest Pet Shop. And oh boy. Oh boy. I don't, like, okay, this episode isn't bad, it's just disappointing. It's just so disappointing. Like, what possible reason could you have for this to be the everything is a dream episode? 'Cause I don't know. 'Cause, like, I don't know, because I can accept that, like, this kind of magic is available in this universe. I can accept that because this universe expects me to accept dumber things. This universe expects me to accept that, like, a medicine can eliminate an ability to talk to animals temporarily. It expects me to accept Kung Fu quilting as a legitimate thing. Like, it's just a quirky little martial art instead of, like, what? No, go away. Don't do this ever, because it's dumb and stupid and nobody will like it. It expects me to accept a lot of things, and then it does this. And here's the thing. The other thing that makes this, like, disappointing is that up until that point, it's a good episode. Up until that point, I'd say it's, like, one of the better episodes of season 3. up until that point, it was amazing and well shot, well directed, well acted, well written, everything. And then they just take it all away from you for no good reason. It's essentially the, How I Met Your Mother of Littlest Pet Shop episodes. Everything was going so well. It was riding high. It did everything it could do to make you feel great. And then it just, tears the rug out from under you and makes you fall on your face and break your nose. And then... Forget it. I've said my piece on this. It's... I would talk about, a lot of the facets of this episode, but they don't matter. I would talk about how much I love Alice as a character in this episode, but it doesn't matter. I would love to talk about the morals this episode presents, but they don't matter. And, okay, here's something. Here is something I can talk about. Just a little bit. So, I listen to a variety of podcasts, and one of them I listened to said that they found a thing where, oh, why are people upset when, something in a TV show is, all a dream, blah, 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 blah. TV shows are inherently fake, or whatever. Okay, yes, but that's not the point of a TV show. The point of a TV show isn't, it's supposed to be fake. The point of a TV show is that it's supposed to, defy its fakeness. Or the point of any fictional media, really, is that it's supposed to defy its fakeness so that it generates real feelings out of you. That's how I look at fiction. And then, and it's all a dream episode without the proper context is someone crying because they're someone in their family died, and then you go over and comfort them, and then they're no one in my family's actually dead, and they kick you in the balls. That's what it's like. It feels oh, you've been fake voted. It's just, I don't want to talk about this episode anymore. It's so, it's a sucker punch straight in the balls. So the next episode. Okay, we're bringing it back. You're bringing it back. It is Back Window, and it's this episode is great. It's great. It's dumb but serious, and I love it. It's an Alfred Hitchcock send-up, and it's amazing. I don't know why they decided to do this, but it is the pick-me-up I need after the previous episode. It is amazing what they can do. So, the whole thing with Face Plant, the questionably dangerous game show, and everything about this episode is just great. It's homaging Alfred Hitchcock and presenting Russell to be this jealous person about Josh. And The rest of the pets aren't that better. Cause like, I don't know, they'd rather practice for a questionably dangerous game show than keep Russell company. And, you should keep Russell company. Like, you should keep anyone company who's injured and can't do much. But, the whole thing with, Blythe throwing out her old designs and Josh stealing them and Russell being like, oh, he must be evil, and making a big deal out of it is amazing. And I absolutely love it. This episode is me smiling ear to ear. Because it's... It's a Rear Window parody, along with send-ups to other Alfred Hitchcock ventures. It's amazing. I don't know why they do this, but it is just the thing I needed after the previous episode, and after having to do that again, and okay, now we're going down to another pseudo bring down. Okay, this isn't a terrible episode. It has its moments. I don't know. It's something. It's fine. It doesn't suck. So I don't know. Like the whole point of the episode is just don't question things. Kind of. I don't question the status quo. Maybe because of the whole thing with Blythe wanting to redesign her room, but Roger being sad about it. And Blythe realizing that this isn't who she is. But okay. I'm torn on that because yeah, you shouldn't follow teen magazines like they're scripture, and that is a good lesson. But if you want to change your room around a little bit, you should be free to do that as well. You shouldn't have Roger guilt trip you on that, which is weird for Roger to do. I don't know. It's not malicious on Roger's part. Cause the room Blythe designed off of the teen magazine really felt like a dark and dreary office. I just mentioned How I Met Your Mother a little while ago. It's how Benson describes how he wants his office to look. You come in the dark, you work in the dark, you go home in the dark. Everything about this is dark. That's just a little weird. And I think Blythe should have kept some of the designs. Not all of the designs, mind you, but I don't know, some of the designs that actually reflect on who she is. And then the whole thing with Meow Meow of asking why and the pet's not having answers and they try to figure it out is it's fine enough. It's not the worst, but I don't know. There's just I mean, this episode has its moments. Like, the whole, like, climax of the episode of Meow Meow being, like, caught in the dumbwaiter. Like, that, like, and the resolution to that is fine. And, like, some of the stories is fine. It's all fine. This is the fine episode if the shoe fits is the weird episode. This is the, like, okay episode, or the sure whatever episode. And now, the pick-me-up from that, why can't we be friends? Now, even though I say in this episode that they could have had it so much better, this is a good episode, and definitely one of my favorites of the season, if not the series. And it's just a delightful episode about making new friends and keeping old friends. And, like, the A-plot and B-plot, I actually don't know which is which, because, again, they both circle around the theme. But, like, the A-plot with Blythe meeting, like, another fashion-forward teen and clicking immediately, seemingly leaving behind her other friends, is a good story. And Vinny making friends with a spider, but his best friend is arachnophobic, is also another good dynamic. And they play out both of these dynamics really well. And it's so good how they do it. And, like, yeah, the pet side is a little goofier, but it's not too goofy that it just kind of takes you out of it, like Food for Thought. It's still really serious and still really intense at times. But, like, it's just strong. This is just a strong episode. And there's not much more to be said about that. So now we move on to pet sounds, which not as strong, I will argue. It's not terribly weak. It's a fun episode. And, like, the misunderstanding is really fun, and it's a really fun, like, twist on how most misunderstandings usually work in this show. It's really interesting, but, like, I don't know. My biggest complaint with the episode is basically what is the whole, like, barrier between human and animal speaking? Because it's not different animals, because different animals can speak with each other. It's not different languages, because animals adopt human languages. You just gotta learn animal speak first. You just don't say what it is, and yet it's a thing that they actively pursue in the universe. That's just my thing. Other than that, it's a solid episode. I like Cheep Cheep as a character, and Professor Toppleton as a character, or Superman as a character. He's getting the Toppleton Award. Like, they're pretty good, and, like, the conflict between, like, you know, finding Cheep Cheep in the city is, like, fun and interesting. And, you know, there's all sorts of really interesting things going on. And I love, like, the scenes where Cheep Cheep thinks he can talk to humans, but he just can't. And there's, like, a bunch of misunderstandings because of that. There's endearing quality to this episode. It's just the whole translation thing is what gets to me. Because, like, it's one thing if it's not something that appears to be actively pursued. It's another when it is, like in this show. And, like, I know in real life we do want to communicate better with animals. But, I don't know. This seems like there should be a little more to than this. I don't know. Just, you would think, like, the weirdness of the universe would, like, spiral around for this, but it doesn't. So let's just move on to the next episode, which is the sister story. This is actually a really good, fun episode. I love Roger and Moe's dynamic here, which is being overly competitive. And it goes very interesting places. It is fun. It is funny. It is delightful, beginning to end. It is. I don't know. It's just so fun and so charming. Because it's a Roger-focused episode. And Roger is fun and delightful and charming and endearing. And, like, the whole thing where, like, he and his sister are just overly competitive. And, like, it gets semi-serious at the end, but they still, like, compete a little bit. But they clear the air on why, and, like, I mean, they don't have to just be competitive, but I'm wondering how it got to that point in the first place. It's just a thing, I guess, they have going. Or maybe a thing that, like, Mo does to, like, cheer Roger up because his wife is no longer there for some unspecified reason. And it's like, hey, we can be competitive. Just like we were when we were kids, so you don't have to focus on whatever. But, like, I guess that also works because in the end, Mo sees that, like, Roger has Blythe to, like, kind of help him along with that, so she doesn't need to do that as hard anymore. But, like, the big llama chase all over the city was fun. It's such a good episode. So, the next episode is A Night at the Plaza, which is, I'm gonna be honest, not that great of an episode. Like, the leaps in logic it takes for the plot to make sense is another thing entirely. It just, like, I don't know. Like, sure, Littlest Pet Shop shuts down due to ants. Mrs. Trombley needs to find a different place. They find the plaza, and then they see the plaza isn't all that it's cracked up to be, so they decide to fix it up. Good start. The Biscuits see the Littlest Pet Shuttle outside, and then they somehow called the number to the building that they know, but they don't know that it's not Littlest Pet Shop, so Blythe answers that it's Littlest Pet Shop, and Fisher wants to destroy the Littlest Pet Hotel, despite it not being a thing. And then it just goes through, like, the whole conflict of this episode is just manufactured out of thin air. There's no real reason for any of that to be happening. It's like, there are moments I like in it. There are, like, the whole evil laugh scene is great. The villain song is great. Like, I don't know, a new addition to, like, Blythe's biscuit power repertoire is always fun, and the scene that comes before it where like you're the fake building inspector guy gets his, it's amazing. Like, there are bits I like about this episode, but this episode is not structured well. There are a lot of leaps in logic that you have to take in order for this to make sense. And I just can't do that. Especially since I'm just looking into the episode, like, deeply. It has good parts, but it's not great. So now we move on to Proud as a Peacock. This episode is fun. It's a fun episode. I don't know if it's one of the best episodes of the season, but it's a good episode of the season. Like, I like the story with Basil the peacock and how Pepper tries to get him motivated. And that's a nice little story right there. Again, it's not too goofy. It's rather serious at times, but not too serious, I guess. It's fun. And then the B plot is young me telling Blythe some of her ideas on how Blythe could use her power, which I think is a good dynamic to pull. It's the opportunity presents itself very well, and it's really interesting to see what young me comes up with, and it's really interesting to see Blythe react to all of this, where Blythe knows that young me is just full of good intentions, but Blythe also knows that this is her life and her power that she's dealing with, and she doesn't know what to think or what to do, and she's not ready to tell the general populace at large. She was barely ready to tell young me. And young me is just going a mile a minute, thinking it's a really good episode, and one that highlights their friendship really well. And I guess that's all that I have to say about that. It's a good episode. It's a good episode. And then the next episode is Sue Syndrome, a really good episode. A really good episode. I don't even know what. Well, yeah, I really do have a bias towards the human stories. See, this is why I like doing these, retrospectives, because it puts a lot of things into perspective for me, where if I'm doing them individually, I do dig in more with them, but at the same time, I get a grander sense of what this season is doing the retrospective. And I don't know, there have been a lot of points this season where I've said, I prefer the human story. I prefer the human story. I prefer the human story. It's weird in a show called Littlest Pet Shop. A lot of times I prefer the human story. I'm not saying that the pet stories are bad most of the time. I'm just saying, I don't know, the stuff with the humans just is more interesting to me. But whatever. For both of these stories are really good. I don't know. They're really good. It's neck and neck at But, like, I do think the human story kind of edges it out. But both of them are really good. So, let's start with, like, the Pepper and Mitzi story. Where, like, Mitzi is an overworked, like, artist who makes pleasant scents. And, you know, Pepper is, like, the veteran artist who knows, like, when to, like, stop or when to say, like, hey, you should do what you want to. And, like, that whole arc where, like, Pepper's initially jealous because, like, Mitzi's stuff is really good. And, like, Pepper's pleasant scents are pleasant, but you don't get a lot of that. But then, like, everyone else, like, abuses Mitzi. Like, it is uncomfortable at times. And then, like, Pepper has to save Mitzi because, you know, she's being overworked and can't take a break because the other pets are overworking her. Like, it's a great concept, and I love it. It's very fun, and, like, the way Pepper teaches her to stand up for herself and make a stink, it's great. And then, like, the Sue side of it, or the human side, where, like, Sue has a fear of public speaking, and, like, Blythe and her friends try to help get her over that. I feel that's really relatable. Do I actually prefer the human story? Like, I think it's good, but, like, yeah, no. Most of the, like, mistakes of this episode come in, like, that story, where, like, I feel like they go one scene too long before Sue reveals that she has a fear of public speaking, despite us picking up on the clues. And I feel like the whole bit with the clowns was unnecessary. And really, Blythe should have told Sue in this episode that she can speak to animals. Like, I think I might prefer the animal part, maybe. I don't know, because, like, the animal part is flawless. Like, the human side might have, like, I don't know what it has. It has some good moments. It has, like, some good camaraderie between Blythe and her human friends. And, like, the moment where, like, Blythe pulls out the, like, treadmill that Sue's running on to do her speech on, it's, that's a good moment. That is a power move. But, I don't know. I guess I said I liked the human part more because of what I wanted it to be and not what it is. It's still great. Like, both of these are, like, high quality for this show, at least. I don't know. There's, like, when I say, like, top tier or high quality, I do mean that, like, in reference to, like, this show and what I expect out of it. I don't know how this compares to other shows. 'Cause, I mean, like, this show has a lot of great stuff in it, but it also has a lot of flaws. And, like, I don't know. It's an odd show. Like, it's a very, very odd show. But this episode is really great, and I would recommend it highly if you're interested in the show at all. So, yeah, now we're going over to the second to last episode of the season, In the Loop. Oh boy, this episode. It's good. Don't get me wrong. It's a good good episode, but it's also kind of odd. It's like a take on Groundhog Day. I don't know. It's a good episode, but I'm just confused by it. Like, I'm not 100% sure why they would parody Groundhog Day, other than it's a good movie, which it is. And, like, they don't even, like, do that much. It's not, for all what I can tell about this show's timeline, it's not even Groundhog Day. It's not even, like, the actual Groundhog Day. There's just a groundhog, and his name is Harold, after Harold Ramis, so that's a nice touch, but, like, there's, I don't know. It's a good episode. It's a fun episode. I'm just befuddled by it. Because, like, it's fun. I just don't quite understand why. It's like Russell thinks that, like, this Harold character is annoying. It's really, like, more of a combination of, like, Groundhog Day and What About Bob? From what I can tell about What About Bob. It's about this guy who is just annoying, and there's his therapist who just wants to be rid of him, but they can't. But now it's Groundhog Day. It's just, like, it's a good setup, and it's a good, thing. And I like how, like, Russell eventually takes it in stride. And, like, I like the resolution. And, I don't know, the bit at the end is a little funny. There's just a lot. Oh, the bat. I love the little bat in that one scene. I don't know. And then I did talk about Latin for a little bit in this because of, like, what they say. I don't know. Yeah. But, like, I don't know. Like, the thing that bothers me the most is that this is real. This episode is real. For all intents and purposes, like, this happened to Russell. And yet, the Very Littlest Pet Shop didn't happen. That is, like, the biggest, like, troll of all. Like, because, like, Groundhog Day doesn't have an explanation. I fan explained it. I kind of figured it out, maybe, at the end. But there is no explanation for Groundhog Day. Or this. This is just the day repeats. For no known or specified reason. Meanwhile, Dolores' shrinking magic has a specified reason. A specified point of origin in the show. And yet, that's the fake one. There's an explanation for the fake thing and not the real magic. No. I just don't like that episode. I like this episode. It's a fun episode. I kept saying that. I keep saying that because it's true. It's a fun little thing about Russell coming to terms with, not being so uptight with people, especially people he doesn't know, and people who attract attention away from him, and people who, are naturally charismatic, whereas Russell is a bit more uptight. It's a fun episode wrapped in, like, this, like, Groundhog Day wrapper, and it's amazing. So, the final episode of Season 3 is, of course, it's the Pet Fest. And I gotta say, this is a very good episode. It's a very solid episode beginning to end. It is great, one of the best of the season. There's just a lot in it, and that's probably because it's a double-length episode. But it's also just really good on its own. Like, it has, like, a solid amount of jokes. It has, like, a good setup and punchline and payoff for, like, everything that happens. And there's just a lot to do with this episode. There's, like, so much, and they do their best to cram so much into this 2 episodes, and they do it well. And that's kind of why I said that, like, maybe more episodes should be, like, longer. That this show might have been better if, like, the episodes were longer regularly. Instead of, the 22 minutes, it's, like, the 48 minutes. Or 44 minutes, rather. And, like, there's just, like, they bring in a lot of things that they've built up, like the soul patches, the pausa. I don't know, there's a few other things. Those are the 2 big ones that, like, facilitate the episode. But I don't know, there's just there's a lot to this episode, and I just really like this episode. It's just good. That's all there is to say about that. So yeah, I guess that's it for this retrospective. I will be coming back to you with regular episodes soon, hopefully by the end of the week, maybe, I don't know. But I will be coming back to you with regular episodes, hopefully more regularly, instead of these weird random breaks I've been taking. Well, they're not random breaks, at least. They have explanations. Some of them are a lot more justifiable than others, but, sometimes we all need a break. I basically took this month off from doing the podcast, because, like, I had other stuff I wanted to do. And, that's fine. But I am ready to get back in there. I'm ready to finish the series off. And we are gonna do that. So thank you for listening to this bonus episode of the Littlest PetCast. Be sure to give your ratings and reviews on Shout Engine, on Apple Podcasts, on the Google Play Store, and wherever else RSS feeds go when they prefer the company of humans. And be sure to tune in next time for the Season 4 premiere, The Tortoise and the Hare. I shall see you then.